Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Palo Alto, where we come to transform ourselves and each other and the world. It is good to be here. Let's take a moment to unmute so that we can hear each other say good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Flower Communion. Good morning. Thank you. You can see the order of service by following the link in the chat. We have Samina Sundas, founder of our Justice Partner, American Muslim Voice, with us today to tell us about their work.
Assalamu alaikum. May peace be upon all of you. My dear friends and justice partners, I am so happy to come here this morning. And it has been a wonderful day because I came to the church and was greeted by two wonderful men, and then I got big hug from Amy. So sun is shining, things are looking up. This year, we built community by taking care of the unhoused, God's very special guests. In winter, we created about 100 packs that contained jackets, sweaters, hoodies, blankets, socks, whatever, you could imagine, so they are not cold. So we did that. That costed us $5,000. Then we created Dignity Project, people who cannot go in lines to ask for food. In Islam, it is very important to protect human dignity. So we created a project that we would take them some food every 2 weeks, just fruits and vegetables, so their kids can enjoy that. That costed us $5,000. And $1,000 we spent just recently, this Thursday, on meals in East Palo Alto for the church. $1,000 we spent on needy girls who are Muslim girls who are just looking forward to getting new Eid clothes. Eid is like Christmas. So we just bought them some clothes. $1,000 yesterday we spent on just really creating this wonderful drive-by iftar dinners for our fellow Americans to recreate our iftar dinners at my home. So you could see that we have been just really coming up with creative ideas that if we cannot host our events, that we could continue to make a difference in our community. And I have loved doing that. I have loved, your partnership, and we value you more than money can explain. So please contribute for our causes and hope to see you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Samina. You have shared so many special feasts with us, and it's very meaningful to have you as our justice partner and have you here during the most sacred month of the year. I hope we will live up to the blessing that the Muslims among us give one another at this time. Ramadan Kareem, a generous Ramadan. Light your chalice along with me, if you like. We light our chalice with the words of Subhadra Sen Gupta, beloved Indian writer of books for children who died of COVID this week. Being open to change, asking questions, being rebellious, being creative. That is how a civilization grows and becomes like a huge banyan tree, giving shelter and shade to many people of many regions, languages, religions, and gender. May this light be like a banyan tree, broad and far-reaching enough to shelter all who approach, today and always. With our centering words each week, we draw on the many sources of our living tradition. Today's words are from Maja Capek, who spread throughout the United States the flower ceremony that her husband, Norbert Capek, began. No two flowers are alike. No two people are alike. Yet each has a contribution to make. Each would help to make this world as beautiful as a colorful bouquet, organized and growing into a true community. We are ready to serve one another, the nation, and the world. By exchanging flowers, we signify that we are willing, in the spirit of tolerance and patience, to march together in search of truth, disregarding all that usually divides humankind. As we follow the sound of the bell into silence, let us become centered and fully present in this place together here on our Flower Sunday. Please join in as Bruce leads us in singing, "Spring Has Now Unwrapped the Flowers."
Has now unwrapped the flowers, day is fast reviving, life in all her growing powers toward the light is striving. Gone are the iron touch of cold, winter time and frost time, seedlings working through the mold now make up for lost time. And plant that winter long slumbered at their leisure, now be stirring green and strong, find in growth their pleasure. All the world with beauty fills, gold the green and hands sing. Flowers make glee among the hills, set the meadows dancing.
Dan, can you tell us the story of the flower community again?
Don't you know that story already?
You tell it better, but you don't have to tell us that Unitarian churches in the Midwest did flower services starting in 1875. Just start with Maja Capek when she came to the United States from the Czech Republic. And we already know that she was a librarian in the New York Public Library. And she fell in love with Norbert Capek, and they married in 1917.
Okay, I'll start there. Norbert was a Baptist minister, but he started to doubt his Baptist beliefs. Maja encouraged his doubts. After they married, he resigned from the Baptist ministry because of his doubts.
They sound like Unitarians to me.
One day, the children wanted to go to Sunday school. Each week, the children chose a church to try. Afterwards, Maja and Norbert asked them what they had learned. It always sounded like the same old religion that they had left behind. So they'd ask the children to try a different church next week.
Until the children went to a Unitarian church.
And they told their parents that they had been encouraged to wonder and to ask questions. So of course they returned to the Unitarian church. And Norbert and Maja decided that they'd attend the Unitarian services, and then they became Unitarians.
Meanwhile, back in Europe,
The Capek's homeland became an independent country. The American Unitarians helped Norbert and Maja to go back to Czechoslovakia to start a Unitarian church in the city of Prague.
and they didn't want to be reminded of the religions they had left behind.
In 1923, Norbert and Maja created a new Unitarian ritual that wouldn't be like anything in any other religion. They called it the flower celebration.
Now we call it a flower communion. Yeah, and everybody gets to exchange flowers. Exchanging flowers symbolizes how we are all connected to one another.
Soon the Unitarian Church in Prague had 3,000 members. It was the largest Unitarian church anywhere. But next to Czechoslovakia in Germany, the Nazis had taken over the government. In 1939, the Nazis began invading nearby countries.
This is the scary part.
Maja came to the United States to raise money to help refugees who were escaping from the Nazis. While she was here, the Nazis invaded Czechoslovakia. Norbert was arrested because he spoke out for freedom. The Nazis put Norbert into a concentration camp where he died in 1942. After the Nazis were finally defeated, Maja stayed in the United States. Norbert's death made her sad, but she wanted to keep working to make the world a better place.
Now for the good part.
Maja decided to bring the joyous flower celebration to Unitarians here in the United States. What better way to remember Norbert and all the Czech Unitarians who fought for freedom?
I'm glad Maja Capek brought the flower communion to the United States. I like the way the flower celebration honors the connections between all beings. I like the flowers! Now I can't wait till next year's flower communion.
We now turn our thoughts to the important events of our lives which we wish this community to share. If you have a joy or a sorrow you would like me to speak this morning, please post it in the chat or send it to joyconcern@uucpa.org, and they will be shared aloud. I want to begin with a memorial candle for one of the hundreds of thousands of people who have died in India of COVID in recent weeks. In religious community, we share our joys and our triumphs, our sorrows and our broken places. And so we honor the complexity of experience, writ large in flowered platitudes, but here in this space, laid bare, honoring the truth in each of our hearts. There is room for all in this circle. If you have carried a child or children, whether or not they came to be born, we see you. If you have fervently wished to do so, and circumstances of fate made it impossible, we see you. If you love children we cannot see, whether because of death or estrangement, we see you. If you never wanted to be a mother, we see you. If you are happy to mother other people's children as an educator, an auntie, or a foster parent, we see you. If your mother hurt you, physically or emotionally, we see you. If you had no mother at all, we see you. If your mother is or was your best friend, we see you. If your gender says you are not a mother, and yet you take on the role of nurturer, we see you. If you wonder whether your mothering has been enough, we see you. And if yours is a different truth, altogether, we honor your unspoken story. There is room for all in this circle. May it be so, today and always. Let us now take a few moments of silent prayer or meditation to hold all that we have heard with compassion and care. Blessed be. Let's sing together as Bruce leads us in singing, "Come Sing a Song with Me."
Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time.
Our reading today is How Can Black People Write About Flowers at a Time Like This? By Hanif Abdurraqib. He was inspired to write this poem and others by this title when he was at a poetry reading, and another African-American poet was up front reading a poem about flowers, and he heard somebody murmuring behind him, a white person, "How can black people write about flowers at a time like this?" Part of his response. Dear reader, with our heels digging into the good mud at a swamp's edge, you might tell me something about the dandelion and how it is not a flower itself, but a plant made up of several small flowers at its crown. And Lord knows I have been called by what I look like more than I have been called by what I actually am, and I wish to return the favor for the purpose of this exercise, which, too, is an attempt at fashioning something pretty out of seeds refusing to make anything worthwhile of their burial. Size me up and skip whatever semantics arrive to the tongue first. Say, that boy, he looked like a hollowed-out grandfather clock. He looked like $1 million God with a 2-cent heaven. Like all it takes is one kiss, and before morning, you could scatter his whole mind across a field. Wise people have been asked from time immemorial for brief words of advice that will work in any circumstance. According to legend, one person advised the dictum, "This too shall pass." According to T.H. White, Merlin told the young King Arthur, "Learn something." Something I absorbed, though I couldn't say from whom exactly, was more closely. Look or listen or move in closer. It's a remedy for all sorts of troubles and a fountain of wonder and beauty. Stuck in a waiting room or a traffic jam? Observing more closely may make the time as rewarding as 2 hours spent watching a great movie. Don't stop watching what the car in front of you does, safety first, but maybe trace the lines of its headlights and bumpers and see how they reflect the light. How you can tell just from looking at their surface what the sky is like right now. Bright or overcast, raining or threatening rain, dusk or late afternoon. The most featureless painted wall has texture and variation if we move in more closely. Its history is written there for us to read if we read closely. Here, the painter got impatient and didn't clean the brush of extra paint, so there's a glob, a thickening, that we can even feel if we run our fingers across it. And there, a tiny bit of the previous color peeks through. The previous owners had very different taste in wall decoration. Putting down what looks like avocado where today's owners put eggshell. Suddenly we're looking not just at paint, but at people. What they consider beautiful. What kind of day they had as they spread paint across the wall. We can begin to wonder. Were they bored? Were they happy? Did this work sustain them? Where are they now? If we're feeling numb or overwhelmed, looking more closely can take us into the small wonders of existence, which have the power to relight our imaginations and our hopes. If we are in grief or depression and our own insides are hard to bear, whatever's right before us may offer some consolation or at the very least some distraction. If we move in close, very close. The weave of that blanket we've pulled over our heads is a universe. We've invented tools, we humans, for looking more closely. A telescope reveals a patch of blank darkness in the sky to be a field of blossoming stars. And like the flowers in a meadow, no two of them are quite alike. They look alike at first, maybe, but the more closely we zoom in, the more each one has its own shape, its own subtleties of color and movement. Just as each, of course, has its unique story at which we can only guess. Look just once through a microscope, and you will never use the expression "like watching paint dry" to mean boredom again. The drying of paint, seen up close, you can see this on YouTube, is a beautiful dance of currents, particles streaming together in harmonious purpose. Wood, seen magnified just 10 times, turns out to be a honeycomb of cells stacked upon cells, or even a delicate lace, fibers stitching air into a fabric that can grow 100 meters high. If we don't have a telescope or a microscope, no worries. We have eyes or ears or fingertips. We have memories and imaginations. And so a person who seems to us to be a blank wall, nothing much to see, or a confusing tangle of contradictions, or an angry heap of indistinguishable junk might reveal something very different if we move in closely. That scowling woman in line in front of us, what happened in her life the day that she was exactly the age of the child she's snapping at right now? We can't know, of course, but we can wonder, we can imagine, as we wait there with our shopping cart, 6 feet back. We can create a whole story. If we were novelists, we might begin with what we can observe, whether she moves with ease or with discomfort. What kind of mood shows in her stance? Whether she bites her nails or paints them or has someone else paint them. What she's buying and what she likes to eat for breakfast. There's so much to notice that we can barely begin before she pays the cashier and hurries out of our sight. There's so much to notice that we can barely begin before we're out of time. But let's begin anyway. Today, even though we are miles, even hundreds of miles apart from one another, we can look closely at the flowers each of us will soon hold up to our camera lenses. Just observing more closely for the 5 or so minutes of Veronica's playing is enough to bring us into close contact with astonishment. Like the poet Hanif Abdurraqib, who wrote, "I have been called by what I look like more than what I have been called by what I actually am." These flowers offer us so much more than we imagine at first glance. We have the time to go beyond that first glance, beyond our names and labels and expectations, to receive the gift of our own observing. So, if on your screen in a moment you see a flower that seems to have nothing much of interest to offer, may I suggest that you pause there. Maybe it is a kind you don't like, or a kind with which you are very familiar. You've seen it before. You've seen it all. That's a cue to look more closely. When you have seen something there that you never have noticed before, maybe say a silent thank you. This is our communion, our coming close together to receive each other's gifts as we offer ours, to take in the world around us and enter into it. Maybe you will find a certain flower whose image you will take with you when our service ends. Maybe many will speak to you. Let's move in closely enough to discover what they have to say. Now, as the music plays, please turn your view to gallery. If you, on most devices, this will be in the upper right of your screen. If you mouse over it, you'll see a little sign that says view, and you can pick gallery view. And also, so that will let you see other people's flowers, and then also turn your video on so that you can hold your flower up to the camera to be seen by everyone else, if you are fine being live streamed to Facebook and Zoom. Otherwise, you might want to make sure the flower fills up the entire screen. That's probably in the lower portion of your screen. It varies a bit depending on devices. If you don't have a flower today, don't worry. Someone will be very happy that you are seeing theirs, and next year you'll have another chance. And if it takes you a while to turn on your video, please be patient, and the tech crew will help you as soon as they can. We will have several minutes to be in communion with the flowers and one another. We will now, if technology cooperates, create a word cloud of what emerged for us as we looked more closely. There's a link in the chat that you can use to share your word. Here we go. Click on that and share whatever comes to your mind, comes to your thoughts from this experience. And if you have trouble with that link, then please just put the word into the chat and I will add it for you. The easiest way to build a word cloud is for each person to click on that link and put their word in right there. You can actually add up to 4 if you wish. When I've rung the bell 3 times, we will be done. I'm loving seeing all these in the chat. Do add them to the word cloud if you can. If you'll turn back to your speaker view, you'll get a view of our word cloud. Some of the words that I see here: connection, beauty, community, diversity. Can you see that? Can you spotlight me, Mark? I'll share this with everybody on our website as well afterwards. Beautiful, complexity, delicate, abundance, colors, fabulous, love, vibrant, variety. And then many, many smaller words, maybe said by just 1 or 2 people. Hopefulness, uplifting, scent, painted, charity, tears of joy, perspective, generosity, exuberant, drought, garden, lovely, serenity, sweet. There it is. As I said, that word cloud will be shared on our website along with all the other material from this service so that you can go and look at it at leisure. Thank you for sharing that. And now, as Edward Everett Hale said, shared with us by the puppets some months ago, I am only one, but still I am one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something that I can do. We give thanks that we have so many partners in our life's work of transforming the world, so that the something that we can do join with the somethings they do. With gratitude for American Muslim Voice, we affirm our interdependence by making our gift this week to them. The offering will now be given and received. The order of service gives a QR code and link, and also information on using text to give via Give Lively. You can also follow those links there in your chat. Thank you. Now please join in as Bruce leads us in singing For the Beauty of the Earth.
For the beauty of the earth, for the splendor of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies, source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of ear and eye, for the heart and mind's delight, for the mystic harmony, linking sense to sound and sight, source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the wonder of each hour of the day and of the night, hill and vale and tree and flower, sun and moon and stars of light, source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of human care, neighbor, stranger, parent, child, for the kinship we all share, for all gentle thoughts and mild, source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise.
I'll extinguish our chalice with more words from our word cloud. I've noticed the smallest flames are the most persistent. Smiles, colors, serenity, stunning, rich, happy, amazing garden. Delight, faces, amazement, intricacy, beautiful petals. Each day is a gift. Lucky us. important announcement. You've got to be able to hear me. Please stay after the benediction for our virtual coffee time. You will be invited to small group conversations in our breakout rooms, or if you have something on your mind about the service that you wish to discuss, then just stay here in the main room with me. You should be able to move between breakout rooms on your own as well. The rooms will stay open for half an hour. Now, please unmute yourself, turn on your video, and touch hands virtually like this while we say our benediction together. There we go. Go out into the world in peace. Be of good courage. Hold fast to what is good. Return no one evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Rejoice in beauty. Speak love with word and deed. Honor all beings. Amen.